begins.
So there's the Varus ban. I think you always have to get rid of this when you're playing against Elk. Here is the thing. Are JDG going to be willing to give over Orianna here? And if they are, already seeing it reflected, are they going to be willing to first pick it? We've seen in their last series that was not the case. HongQ has obviously played some Orianna games, has 5 games this season, but they prioritize getting Jarvan, taking away some of the jungle pool. And with Jiejie being such an important piece to this team, I wonder if that's going to be the focus going further.
Rumble's the first slam here for Xiaoxu.
Okay.
Weibo Gaming, there's a couple options you can go for. You can try and snag either an opening bot lane combo if you want to maybe give Ezreal over to Elk into Bard and like get a nice weak side enabled support to just then roam. But completely forgot about the Rise. I'm going to space out on that one. Rise Pantheon, a lot of global tools, very powerful jungle mid combo if it gets slammed here.
Oh, and this is very interesting. Weibo have not been able to get their hands on Mbessa. It has been by far one of the most banned champions against this team. Zika, one of our better Mbessa players, and against Rumble, I think it's a very decent matchup. And if you're going to have Mbessa, Rise, Pantheon, I think this top side is incredibly dangerous to deal with. Just the solo lane potential and trying to catch these teams off guard. JDG now, I think probably one of the most stock standard team fight compositions we've seen kind of crop up within the last 6 months. Yunara Lulu, a fantastic pair. Then we have Rumble on top of that, the range. Now I just want to see how JDG are going to be able to tie this together.
If the Mbessa gets slammed here, not necessarily a counter pick into the Rumble, but you have a lot of support from this Pantheon and Rise to help set you up for that mid-game spike. And then once the Mbessa gets rolling, well, we know how terrifying she can be. Heading into the second round of picks and bans, though, I want to look at both of these cores because Weibo have rounded out their entire top side, yet to pick a bot side for Elk and Hong, whereas JDG have invested heavily into this Yunara and Lulu scaling for Gala and Vampire already.
Just looking, I mean, the pool can start to get really pinched. Elk has not played very many different games. Ashe is already taken away. Varus, again, a very high priority, who's already mentioned. With Yunara taken, we're looking at Sivir or Corki. He has 10 games total. 9 of those are on 3 champions, which I think is really, really insane. So we're going to get rid of the Nami to try to cut away at the Corki. I think Yunara Lulu has introduced some really interesting answers. I like the Ezreal Bard that you had mentioned earlier, and I wonder if that's going to be an answer that Weibo are going to look towards. But Hong has also just not played very many Bard games, if any at all, so far this split.
That is true, yeah. And to be quite honest, Elk has only played 2 games of Ezreal this split alone, has relied mostly on the hyper carries. Then again, JDG, very present in the mind of the fact that Bard is still available, are going to respect the fact that Hong might be able to play it here. And Nivea, well, not a Nivea support, but a Nivea from HongQ is taken off the table, would have been even more powerful kind of terrain control with the Glacial Storm. Weibo might just want to open up with their 80 care. Oh, we're getting an Elk Lucian. Oh,
we're going Lucian Melio then. Okay,
yeah.
That's kind of the tell, which I think is, I'm not gonna lie, Raafaa, I'm a little bit perplexed. Like, there's not much that you're hiding with going Lucian first, so we'll kind of see. I think for JDG, you're probably looking at going for either the Azir, or we're going to be moving into things like Cassio, which we really haven't seen from HongQ so far. Again, JDG, they are going for more quintessential team fighting compositions. Strong front line. Imagine Xin Zhao is going to be on 5 here.
Yeah. I actually wonder if there are certain conditions that pop up that allow Hong to say, instead of Melio, let me go Braum instead. It's like the only other thought. I think that's the only other thought why you would want to just get the Lucian now and then give yourself some extra time to decide whether you want Melio or Braum.
I'm not against that. I'm not against that at all. I do think it makes your game in general a little tough to kind of play versus this range, but similarly, I think Melio doesn't really solve those issues. He can prevent the engage with the fire kick, right? He can stop a Skarner from Ishtal smashing your carry into a wall or abducting them. But aside from that, I think we're just going to have really good value here. I think Melio gets so much extra kind of juice when you're seeing, oh, I can just Breath of Life, and now the Skarner suppression doesn't even work. I want to see Weibo play to side lanes. You have an Mbessa, you have a Ryze, Lucian Melio can be really strong on mid. I need to see them kind of activating one of these two side lanes and using this to either get themselves gold so they can approach one of these dragons later on, or cut out JDG before they even step into the river, before we get to an objective fight.
Yeah, you have a lot of strong early game, mid game pressure from this Weibo Gaming composition already. When it comes to scaling, obviously Ryze will always be in consideration, but I genuinely feel that if JDG somehow survive and weather the early game storm from Weibo that favors them, I think JDG have a solid shot. You have stronger scaling frontline on their side just thanks to this Skarner, and then anytime you get into extended play against Azira and Rumble, and hell, Yunara with Lulu right behind, you're always going to be in a hell of a battle for your life.
Yeah, this will be a very tricky game for Jiejie. He's really the only form of engage outside of Zika's public execution, so if he's not going to be there, if we're not going to be bringing over our top laner, I think that Jiejie is going to have a very tough time trying to engage onto this team. We'll see what Weibo have ready for JDG.
Both teams at 1 and 3 in the standings. JDG looking for a bounce back while Weibo are looking to continue their momentum. Let's get into Summoner's Rift here for game 1. God bless you, Jin Dong.
I love him. I love him so much. Every time we get to hear him, I was very sad for the first start of the season where that guy just didn't make it. Oh my, we have barriered for nothing. That was very, very fun. Elk canceled 2 autos with his Lightslinger. We are already in for a treat. This is a great way to start game 1.
I don't know if that was mind games from Elk or he was just genuinely surprised. Well, now we're popping a couple extra summoner spells between both supports just to maintain health dominance in this lane. This is always going to happen when you have a Lucian Melio lane set up. You are trying to dominate and then get yourselves accelerated. And if there's any lessons learned from Awesome and Zhuo, who have kind of put the Lucian Melio experience on full blast, Xiaohu making some nice trades against HongQ. Oh, if that last overload connects, ooh, HongQ would have been forced to base.
I mean, look at the wave right now. And Weibo, they got wards down onto the Raptors of JunJia. So they know that Skarner's pathing down bottom lane. We're actually seeing that this is going to be Pantheon going to the top side of the map. There will be no vision coming in. Good trades coming in from Xiaohu to get mid priority. I wonder if that's going to really turn into anything more than maybe just a forced recall, but old man's come to play. I've had a lot of my own reservations about his level of play we've seen from him recently.
Old man playing the bald man definitely checks out and adds up. I like that Elk and Hong are going to take an early base since their jungler is pathing towards the top side of the map. Was it canceled? No.
No, he used barrier. He used barrier to make sure he doesn't get canceled on the recall.
Are you serious? Wow, that's awesome.
Okay, drop this lower third, LPL. Yep, there's the barrier gone. So
that's crazy.
He'll get his recall, and this is a very interesting kind of start to the early game. We haven't seen a ton of calls pop up, especially in some of these lanes, but Hong's holding the wave. We're going to get refillable plus longsword, whereas Gala's going to pick up Cole. We'll see if this pays off. There's already a small lead starting to mount here for this Yunara, and I think the longer that you try to play with her on the lane, Lucian's not going to like that at all. That's going to be a very losing side if you are Weibo.
Potential mid lane setup from both junglers here. They're in position to flank their opposing mid laners. JunJia getting the jump onto Xiaohu, who can only tag him with a slow because Jiejie's position forced HongQ to retreat.
I think that was adventurous. I don't know what HongQ or JunJia was really going to be able to grab because the range on Skarner E is good, but not that good. So we're just going to pass each other. We're going to do a little bit of chip damage. Means that Xiaohu will be a little bit worse for wear. But right now, Raafaa, I think what I'm kind of looking at is this next dragon coming up in a minute. With what we have seen so far of the game, with JunJia's camps going to be naturally respawning and leaning him towards the bottom side of the map, it'll be interesting to see whether or not this Yunara Azir team can just start stacking early. That I think gives you a lot of breathing room here in this game.
Yeah, it's super important for this team to have that early game start, right? Because then you are denying JDG the breathing room if you are, say, at 20 minutes, forcing them to contest you on what is potentially Dragon Soul for Weibo Gaming, whereas Jindong would like as much time to scale as possible. I want a quick check-in on top lane. As you mentioned, one of the things that Weibo Gaming might try and prioritize was the Scion. Obviously, they went for the Mbessa this game. This champion does need a little bit of love and protection early on before she can start hitting like a truck. Until then, Xiaoxu's Rumble always going to have to push.
There's barrier again from Gala, and still kind of worse for wear on the HP trade. So, does mean that they'll have a bit more priority. You see them already kind of leaning towards this river. They want to be able to fight. Maybe they'll look for something on the opposite side. Once Zika gets ultimate, that's where I start to get worried, because public execution, you get flat armor penetration, and we also have Jiejie on this side of the map. Even if he shows, or if he just comes through the lane, I think Rumble's in a really bad spot. And so I like that we did a check-in. Rumble's going to be very, very important for this Jingdong team as to whether or not they'll ever actually deal damage relevant to someone like a Ryze or a Lucian later on.
Yeah, because Rumble is kind of like your only mid-game bridge you have to make things a little stable or somewhat threatening against Weibo. Jiejie's going to be spotted on this ward in the river. He sweeps it, and Xiaoxu just might be in trouble. Public execution immediately burns the flash.
That is a crazy long load time for that to land, by the way. So, 0 ping is OP, sure, but that's an expensive trade, I think, if you're JDG. So you'll lose out on top side, you'll still catch the wave, and you'll grab the dragon. I think that still goes within the realm of what we wanted to see from JDG early on here. And, I mean, lanes are going fine. I think this is a good start to this game here, which has not really been the problem for JDG recently.
No, not at all. And we know that when JunJia is able to have a good early game, then things tend to get a lot easier for JDG. Meanwhile, Xiaohu looking for a quick roam onto the bot side. Here comes Realm Warp. There is flash from Gala, but the follow-up from Xiaohu and Jiejie ensures that first blood is secured for Weibo Gaming.
All right, let's do the checklist here. Survive laning phase, fine. Use Realm Warp and Grand Starfall from Pantheon Rise to get into a side lane and get things working. Check. Good job, Weibo.
And just the power of this tempo fast play you can do on champions like Pantheon. They showed topside. JDG get the false sense of security. Well, our jungler is going to finish this dragon, and we have probably like one wave. That one wave is not safe anymore. Jiejie immediately starfalls in, and also credit to Xiaohu just being able to make that roam. And now that the flash is gone, repeat visits are going to be very much in the book for Weibo.
So what is our plan from both of these teams to attack Grubs? Because Grubs, I know K-Man has really kind of said, like, hey, Grubs are OP. Grubs really help when you're trying to siege turrets, I think especially in the late game. For Weibo, they definitely have champions that are going to be really, really strong on sides like we talked about during the draft. So what is our plan of attack? We're just now sending Lulu back to recall. Gala's more than likely going to have to stay. And with Elk being trapped underneath this turret and still not finding a recall after that last play, I think it's less and less likely we might see Weibo realistically make a big move over here, unless they can open this up with finding a pick onto either the Rumble or pushing Azir off.
Well, there's no flash on Rumble, so a pick on Xiaoxu could be in the near future. It would require probably just Jiejie walking up past vision, which is not going to be able to do so as easily, especially if JunJia is in the area trying to get some extra protection here. So as you call it out, Grubs have now started. JunJia's the first one here. He has push in both top and mid. So even if Jiejie tries to walk up, at most he is hoping to just deny one of these away.
Fake Comet Spear, brother. You are sitting in the third chair in the hotel room, brother. We are not doing anything.
Oh,
That's a second Grub. Third Grub is gone. All right, and we get Top Scuttle. Oh, this is literally Christmas then.
Yeah. And Jiejie couldn't really find a proper response on the map here. Grand Starfall obviously not available, but you would think that if you cannot play for Grubs, you want to try and be efficient and look for a cross-map play of some sort. But JunJia, good pathing, cleared out his entire bot jungle. And obviously Gala and Vampire were playing super safe on the bottom side of the map as well. So really
I think the reason that nothing happened on the bot side is, again, like Elk got trapped, right? So Elk didn't find a recall afterwards, was trying to get another wave. happens. As a fellow AD carry player, I get it. One more wave. It feels really nice. And if you try to get that advantage over your opponent, you're feeling good. You get to finish your quest maybe just a little bit earlier. But because of that, nothing ends up happening. JDG, they got all 3 grubs. They got the first dragon. I don't really care if we got first blood, if we gave away first blood here. I think the lanes so far have really bounced back after what was a good trade from Xiaohu in the early lane and the attempt onto Xiaoxu's life.
Yeah. Xiaoxu's flash is still down, but time is running out on an opportunity for Weibo to try and make a repeat visit either to Gala or Xiaoxu in these side lanes here. Grand Starfall is available, so we'll see where Jiejie decides to make his play. He's pathing towards top side, so eyes are on Xiaoxu. Oh, looks like he might be in range, and yep, the target is Xiaoxu. The game plan is get this Mbessa fed as fast as possible, and so far, it's looking pretty good.
And they get another top play, but I'm looking at the map right now, Raafaa. Zika's just going to probably have to take a recall after this. If not, he's staying a little bit more. There's no real objectives, I think, that Weibo are going to be playing, so they're trading a lot of their map pressure right now for gold. We'll see if this ends up panning out. There are some really important breakpoints for Weibo. Obviously, when we talk about Rise, every time it kind of comes down to the same conversation. Rod of Ages, Seraphs, and then whether or not we're going for Actualizer third or for Zhonya's. But I think if maybe Zika gets his Maw of Malmortius faster, does that meaningfully change the matchup? We'll have to see.
Yeah, we mostly see Mbessas go for things like Eclipse into Shojin Rush, right? Or sometimes just Shojin into
magic
Black
damage
Cleaver.
on this team, actually.
But
like,
yeah, there is a lot of magic damage. So I definitely am down for the Maw Rush. We'll just see how much it changes. I guess then a little bit of extra Omnivamp never hurts in the long run. But second dragon has spawned here. For JDG, they're the first ones to at least try and control the river. Teleport's available for both top laners as well.
And also, top laners are about to fit. Oh, they're going again. This is going to be top quest done here for Zika if they get this.
Yep, Weibo Gaming say, screw the dragon. It's time to make Xiaoxu have a miserable time on the top side of the map. Another repeat visit, and Xiaoxu is just feeling the pain.
Well, we were setting up that Rumble's equalizer is going to be really important for this team to be able to stop a Rise from walking forward, a Lucian from feeling safe, and now you've gotten first item completed here for Jiejie. Zika's now 2 levels up on Xiaoxu because he finishes his quest first on top lane. I think that's massive, and you got plates there. Again, 2 dragons of JDG, you cannot understate the value of a Dragon Soul, especially Ocean, but these are the kinds of advantages we wanted to see. We're worried, but finally we're kind of making good on them.
Okay. There's a potential for a quick play here. If Zika is able to get this base and then uses TP towards the bottom side of the map while Xiaoxu is pinned on this wave, it could be super pog. But the window might be too fast. And yeah, we're just going to go back to the top side of the map.
Super pog or super int?
Yeah. It definitely could have been column B for sure by the time it actually got pulled off here. Ends up being an Eclipse Rush here for Zika, so just taking a pit stop with the Hex Drinker just to have a little bit of a magic shield. I think Maul would have been super sick. But Jiejie now in the area on the bot side, trying to see if he can pressure for a dive. I don't know if they had vision or information that JunJia pathed towards the top side of the map. This would be a nice way to try and break open the bot lane turret, but bot lane HP bars are not low enough for Jiejie to feel confident about it, so he's just going to go for a quick steal on this blue buff and think about a dive. I mean, JunJia's now pathing to... Yeah, JunJia's ready to cover.
This. Do you think, Raafaa, that level 9 Pantheon beats level 10 Skarner? I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I would hope that Pantheon's not trying to fistfight the Skarner and just trying to blow up this Gala Nara as fast as possible if we're actually going for the dive. And I think Jiejie is going to sign off on not doing the play here and just trying to play around where JunJia is not on the map.
All right, so 14 minutes, and as soon as I go for a setup, there might be a play onto Zika here. I think it's very unlikely with how strong he is right now. They're going to try to cancel the recall. There's 1 million shields Mbessa. I love this champion. We're a minute before Herald, and with JDG, Yes, they have given up a lot of gold. They're almost down 1,000 gold at this point. They've gotten the first 2 dragons of the game. They've gotten the 3 grubs, but they haven't actually gotten too many turret plates thanks to the lane matchups that we've really seen here. So for now, I think Herald is going to be a bit of an expensive trade if JDG give this up. But right now, I think what's more important is just trying to avoid Mbessa showing up. So if Xiaoxu has to tank another gank, if that's kind of the way that we have to play this as JDG, that's going to have to be how it is. I think if Weibo ever decide they really want to play for this and they grab that teleport coming through, you're, I think, in a really big world of hurt.
As you said, Herald spawning in the next 13 seconds. JDG trying to see if they can compete for mid push. Where's this Grand Star Fall going? Is it going right behind bot lane?
Stop.
Mid? No, it's on top side. This time, HongQ is getting a treatment of the Pantheon gank. JDG now down a mid laner, and JunJia is going to have to give up this Rift Herald.
I think JDG are about to be down an arm and a leg on this trade. Like, we won the trade on mid versus our AD carries. We get the Herald, and I'm looking top lane. Like, we're getting plates for Rise. Talking about item and completions already for these guys. I mean, that's a really big find. So JDG, again, maybe caught lacking. We thought maybe the NIP series was a flash in a pan. Maybe it was something that we didn't have to look too deeply into, and this team would be able to bounce back. But I think if we only look at standings right now, Raafaa, these 2 teams are both 1 and 3. I think we should treat them more equally than just, hey, one of these teams went to an international, the other one didn't. We're going to take a look at this replay. HongQ, the ultimate stop nothing, brother. You got the flash from Jiejie, but yeah, this is a very, very strong play and exactly what this draft really, really prioritizes about.
Yeah, and because JunJia was preparing for a Rift Herald play after, not able to be in position on the other side of the map to make an appropriate response to see if JDG could look for a trade, Weibo Gaming get the better end of this overall map play. And now that Xiaohu has returned to the bottom side of the map, they can set a priority for this 3rd dragon that's coming up. Really important that Weibo Gaming now try and contest these, because obviously JDG able to get the first 2 dragons against a composition that wants to spike early has delayed the overall threat of a Dragon Soul, but now Weibo Gaming are strong enough where JDG, I feel like, are going to have to start giving these up.
Oh, and HongQ, he's probably just going to have to flash. Okay, uses the ult.
Xiaohu steps up. He's willing to tank it, and then with the face rush, oh my god! Old man still got hands. He's able to just astro glide on HongQ's face right there.
And he's going to stay for another wave. Hell yes! Like my junglers on this side of the map, we are staying for this. Look, if you're Weibo, it's great that you have this great lead. 3,000 gold. Dragon Soul, I think, is going to be less and less of a possibility, and I think right now what's important for them is beating Yunara to the 4-item curve. Once this champion hits 4, I think it's really tough to hit team fights, but if everyone around her is not able to really provide protection or deal damage in the same way she does, then it doesn't even matter that you hit all these items. So JDG are going to get started on this. Xiaohu has already found a recall, and HongQ's going to be late to this fight.
He's taking the long walk through mid lane. There's some vision protection from JDG that at least make Weibo Gaming have to take their time before stepping up. Empowered Room Prison on the Gala takes about 50% of his HP. JunJia wants to step up and look for a turnaround. Xiaoxu TPs to the mid lane. Now Zika can just kind of wait for his time until Weibo Gaming call for him. He has an empowered teleport as well.
Here we go. He's going to have a flank teleport, and they are nowhere near dealing damage to this. Xiaoxu's now going to join. I think this is really risky. Look at the Herald!
Jiejie goes Road Rage driving, and the target is on the JunJia. He blocks so much damage with the empowered shield, and he walks out. He's totally fine. But now HongQ is buying space for the rest of JDG to step on through. Weibo Gaming respect it, back off. Dragon is fully reset. Jiejie might be a little too low, but he has Grand Starfall, so he can instantly come back to this dragon and secure it for Weibo Gaming.
The new Herald is just way too OP. This is, I think, the massive strength of having this objective. You can just drop this in the middle of a team fight and then just go berserk. Multiple knockups there, and this turns into a dragon, so the soul might not be a real win condition here in this game, Raafaa. It might now just be way too much gold to Weibo in this early game at a 4,000 lead, 19 minutes in.
Just crazy to see how Weibo were effectively able to leverage their snowball, and now it just seems like it's too much for JDG to overcome.
Look at this Herald, man. 3 knockups, and of course, with this Pantheon champion, he just gets to press E, and he's completely invulnerable. The damage is not there because HongQ and Xiaoxu don't have the gold to match their counterparts. Xiaohu on this rise is way too powerful. Already has a Seraph's complete and 5 minutes done on this Rod of Ages. Now I'm looking at Weibo's inventory. They for sure smack around JDG Gaming. And look, they can scale all they want, but if you get to that point and you're down 8,000, 10,000 gold, the game doesn't matter anymore.
Correct. I love how earlier in this game you mentioned that Jiejie has to be very spot on and well timed with his engages because he is realistically the only person that can step up and just try and force those. Well, thankfully for him in that very moment, in a critical point in the game, he has a Rift Herald that just allows him to make the engage plays happen. So now that Weibo Gaming rocking nearly a 5,000 gold lead, probably more once they knock down this top tier 1 turret, Baron has spawned here at the 20-minute mark. I don't know about how fast their Baron take damage is, but they can always bait JDG in and just look for the turn instead.
You can see right now that both side laners for JDG are completely traumatized. Like, Azir was late to the top lane play, that's another turret going over to Xiaohu. And as long as Pantheon is in Fog of War, you have no idea if you're even allowed to step up on a wave. Even mid lane, we just saw that Elk dropped a full culling onto Gala's face. We'll see if this engage happens. It's an equalizer. Oh!
The lane was late! It was late! Oh, no!
Oh, look, it was bound to happen. All right, everybody gets one. And I think the the best part about that play is seeing it happen in live time. That was great. Honestly, Raafaa, I still don't know what it's going to do because Gala probably actually has to recall after this, so we're going to watch this again. There's the culling. There's the damage. We're going to see Equalizer come over top. We're going to also have JunJia in a really good spot. So what happens here? So he uses Q. He thinks he's fine. He just mistimes it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Not late,
out
but
of range?
early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, he messed it up. We'll just leave it at that. Leave that to the professionals.
Yeah.
Come on. We gotta keep going.
Man.
We gotta keep going.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see this in the replay afterwards, by the way. We're gonna see this in the
Yeah.
highlights.
I mean, Weibo Gaming still have a very strong advantage going forward. I think it's just the fact that we've seen Hong first struggle with Seraphine, and now he's picking up Melio, which this is first time this split. I don't know how many times in his career he's played it, but you can just tell that he is very new to this overall archetype and class of champion, at least for this team, and just trying to figure it out. And man, it's just so funny to see it happen in real time.
I've got another look. If we're gonna go enchanters and we're really trying to lower the execution bar, there's always Yuumi. There's always Yuumi.
Dude, that just might be the next game.
He is 19 and 11 on that champion. Last time was played in LPL 2023
Okay.
summer. But
All
coming
right,
back
well, at
to
least
this
we got
game,
some
and-
reps. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
not looking at supports anymore. I am very, very excited to see Weibo's continuation of this lead. They now have Zika, who's level 15.
Oh.
They really want this mid-tier 1 right now so that they can play for this dragon spawning in 50.
Yep, Elk opens up with the calling, just trying to see if he can get some poke, but Dragon is not for another 45 seconds and doesn't meaningfully poke out anyone and forcing them to recall. HongQ sets up shop momentarily on the top side with his passive turret resurrection. However, he's already shifting towards the mid side of the map. Zika just got a base off, has his Shojin fully completed, so this Mbessa is super, super strong. JDG have to be extremely careful.
I'm looking at Xiaohu's inventory. He's about to ding level 16. 1 more minute for this Rod of Ages, and I think you are in very, very good business as Weibo Gaming. Side lane still in control right now for this Weibo team. And for JDG, it's great if you can grab this fight. I think what's more important is getting HongQ or Gala to pick up shutdowns onto either Zika or Xiaohu. If you can get these shutdowns, get that gold into your carries, this game becomes so much easier to play, and it allows you to not really worry about the dragon and just pick up farm on the side lanes.
Just forced to use the E just to try to escape, but that's so much damage from Xiaohu and Jiejie and Zika. They all take turns in blowing up the Scorpion. JDG have now lost out on their main frontline and tank. 5 on 4, still it's enough for JDG to push them out of the river momentarily, but like we said before, Jiejie can always rejoin the fray with the Grand Starfall.
Exactly, and so they're just going to go for another mid-wave, move into side, and Bessa's going to finish picking this up. HongQ looks!
JDG tries to look for the advantage when they had 5 or 4 versus 3, but the Emperor's Divide does not find Alk, just gets his flash. It's an honest attempt from JDG, but this will be the second dragon for Weibo Gaming.
Well, look, that same criticism we go over to Jiejie, who is the sole kind of engaged champion for this team. Skarner's there as well, right? Like, Skarner, he has no backup buddies. He has a Lulu next to him, and then maybe Xiaoxu's Rumble can equalize, slow them. It's not exactly clear. And like we mentioned as well, this is essentially a large magic damage team. Yunara does magic damage alongside those AD crits, and is technically just deals true damage now with having the Yuntal Water, or not the Yuntal Water, what am I talking about? The Fiend Hunter Bolts. So you just stack all this magic resist, and the damage is going to be under a little bit of question here. So, Raafaa, I'm looking at this top side. This is not at all what I would describe as a Weibo win if you came at me from the start of the season, but I'll take it. It has been a while since I've seen Xiaohu more consistently be the man in the mid lane.
I know that Jiejie technically has a higher KDA and is responsible for all 7 kills that have happened in this game, but I'm really impressed with Xiaohu's play, because like you said, his consistency has been called into question many times, and in 2026 in particular, especially in the regular season, that was always like a big concern. He was also responsible for a lot of late game lack of clutch factor, but this game has been so impressive, and it really gives me hope that maybe the Spring Tiger is starting to wake up.
Anything's possible. It's a Weibo game. So you were giving me a little bit of flack for predicting them to potentially win this series. It's a Weibo game. Something can happen, but I'm not going to bet against that. I want to live in the moment, be here present, and celebrate one of our teams winning here in this first game. But from just the outset, from what we're seeing here, this is a really, really tough game now for them to play.
Alk, you need to step back, brother. Here comes Xiaoxu, and yep, he's immediately forced to flash away. Well, I guess he didn't, but I was a little nervous of just the Lucian being in between a Rumble and the rest of JDG, but once he clears that distance, then suddenly it's Xiaoxu that's on the wrong side of the tracks there.
Rumble TP'd in, flashback, and is now relegated back to side lane. I think that is a huge loss. If you're JDG, especially if you're Xiaoxu, you're like, well, that was useless. Like, I just lost a 3-minute timer for no reason. I lost my flash, and there's still Pantheon Rise in this game. And look at this. Jiejie has now completed the Guardian Angel. Like, everything is going right for Weibo. By all accounts, they should be able to win this game from this position. I think especially because honestly, JDG just looked like they have not had any teeth here.
Yeah, the only early looks that they've had were just JunJia picking up objectives here and there wherever Jiejie was not. So, I mean, cross-map objectives might have been super effective in previous patches and seasons of League, but this meta, you really got to start stamping your authority and marking your territory as a jungler in this day and age.
Looks like they want to see if HongQ is going to step a little bit further. I love this death trap that Weibo have been playing. Just play between mid and bot lane right now. Xiaohu will consistently go and pick up waves on top side when he really needs to, but it makes it so easy to kind of bounce in between these two lanes. For JDG, I think the last hope is to try to keep this mid-tier 1 alive. It doesn't do much for the vision, but oh my god!
Look at that damage! Alk just emptied 2 full clips into Gala's head, and JDG are now down without their super fed hyper carry in this Yunara. So now JDG, all their hopes in trying to protect this tier 1 turret have gone down.
Wonderful caster curse from myself. I'll take that pat on the back and that Weibo jersey in the mail. Here's the Realm Warp, and that's going to be Baron. Let's see if JDG have any hopes of being able to stay in this game. If JunJia can land a steal, then we're right as rain.
They're burning down the Baron super fast. They have Pantheon for the Q execute, but they're going to turn right onto JDG with the 5 versus 4. Impale goes wide. JunJia slams one into the wall, but gets burned down instantly, and Xiaohu is leading alongside the rest of Weibo as JDG Gaming are completely scatterbrained. Jiejie with the flash to guarantee the Golden Emperor's head in a body bag, and Weibo Gaming will turn back to the Baron.
7,000 gold, and I think just a clean game in general from the Weibros. Very free win, I think, when it comes to these fights. They've looked really incredible, and I think just the strength of play, good draft from them as well, but one that really relied on their execution alongside the top lane. From minute one, I think that Weibo have shown a lot of great things here that hopefully can snowball to more wins this season after a 0-3 start. Take a look back at this fight. I mean, Zika is way too tanky. They are flanked on all sides, and you're already down Gala.
Ooh. Yeah. I didn't even see the flash from Zika over the Emperor's Divide.
Yep.
Yeah, I was looking on the right side of the fight. Yeah, Zika just playing this super well. Something that you noted in the previous series that Weibo won against IG is how well Zika looked against Breathe, who you've considered as potentially our second best or second most consistent top laner in the regular season for Split 2 so far. But this is a lot of faith that Weibo Gaming put into Zika, putting a lot of attention on his side of the map, especially since this was a Rumble first pick from JDG Gaming. But they didn't have any real protection for Rumble in all of the onslaught that Weibo brought to him in the first 10 minutes of the game.
All right, if we're criticizing draft here, Raafaa, I gotta ask, where did the Skarner champion come from, man? Like, there was Xin. Xin was completely unbanned this entire game, and we just decided we're gonna go for Skarner. You would have had Lulu, Xin, you know, like the pairing was there. Surely we'll look back at this and we'll say, Talbot, what'd we cook here, brother? But that's a third dragon in a row for Weibo. I did not think that Dragon Soul was really going to be a win condition, and honestly, at this point, Raafaa, it's still looking like this game's already going to be over, even before that even spawns here.
Bit of a stutter frame on my end. Not sure if it's on both of our ends. We'll see.
Well,
if we
you know
can
how I
get
can
back
tell whether or not it's the Huya feed or not is if the lower third rotates by itself. Because if that's the case, then it's just Huya. Look, we're lifting the veil a little bit for folks at home. Hopefully we'll have the game in front of you guys in just a little bit. Sorry for the interruption of game, but just imagine Weibo are still winning. And if you're a Weibo hater, probably already turned off the game, to be honest.
They're like, all right, just ping me when game 2 starts. Ping me when the draft is ready on my screen. But so far, super impressive look from Weibo. In this second, I want to go back to what you mentioned, how this is a Weibo snowball that does not look like their previous win condition so far, where most of the time, Weibo were kind of banking on snowballing Alk in Split 1, trying to see if they could at least try and make it so that Alk was set up for success. I mean, obviously, they picked Lucian Melio, which had an aggressive laning phase and has a strong mid-game spike, but we only saw really one visit from JunJia and Xiaohu onto Alk and Hong's lane, whereas most of the game, it was just making sure that this Mbessa was set up for success instead.
It turns out there are more lanes than bottom lane. I know hearing that for me probably sounds like whoa, we're reinventing the wheel over here. But, I mean,
character development at its finest.
I think it's really impressive also that Weibo somehow were able to get Mbessa, which again, one of their most banned champions against this team, and Zika is just performing on it. So, okay. Seems like we didn't miss all that much. Somehow Weibo are now at 11,000 gold, so looks like all the outer towers are gone. Man, the first 8 minutes, the first like 10 minutes of this game are so much different than the last 20. Remember, we were like, okay, 3 grubs, 2 dragons, JDG are happy, but they have completely sputtered out here in this game. Really, my eyes are now going to fall to the big carries, right? We're saying, okay, if you can get to 4-item Yunara, what is kind of the pieces that are around her? This is why I really hate Proto Belt right now. We're stomping a lot of the spikes that some other champions would have. Imagine if this was HongQ with a Shadow Flame or Rabadons. Now that's not going to really be the case with this Proto Belt. That's going to be delayed. Gala just needs a couple more waves before there we go. That's Infinity Edge done, but he has no damage next to him. Maybe if Rumble is there, we can start talking about a kill, but maybe Raafaa, it is just too late.
Yeah. Don't get me started about the Protobell flavor popping up, because there's definitely sometimes when I'm like, okay, you know what? The extra mobility dash is warranted. And other times when I'm seeing it built on LeBlanc in favor of like extra burst damage, I'm just like,
I'm not hating. That brother won the series. Results-based analysis says it was good.
They could have won the game and just cut it 2-0 and not extended it for 3 games. I'm gonna put that out there. But we're 45 seconds away from Ocean Soul, and because Weibo Gaming have an 11,000 gold lead, either Jindong Gaming are going to somehow stop them and make it funny, or they're gonna die trying, and we're gonna move on to game 2.
Let's just look at the inventories, by the way. 5 items for Elk, and a Rabadon's completed for Xiaohu. You are never killing this Rise, especially with that actualizer. So we are going to have to get real creative with how we are finding damage and how we are finding kills. But look at the side lanes, all stacked in favor of Weibo. JDG are just trying to find anything for this play, as this is the last fight of this game.
Yeah, their safest path is through bot lane, but Zika has snuck into this bush. Doesn't really pop the public execution for the quick snap engage. Xiaoxu's trying to creep through the tri-bush on the red side of the map. Elk opens up with the culling. Lot of damage. Good night, JunJia. Scorpion King is gone, and Weibo Gaming now have no fear in just securing the Ocean Soul.
That is my favorite Mummy movie, and just like Brendan Fraser, we're going to send this whale of a game over to Weibo. Just Ocean Soul. We'll get the Baron if we really want to, but I think Weibo have shown great respect to side lanes. They've played really well in their lanes individually so far here in this game 1, and maybe that bounce back versus Invictus Gaming was what they needed. Maybe the old men just needed a couple games on the patch.
Maybe they were just resting a little too hard. They were in hibernation after playoffs ended, and coming back took some time to get the rust off. But if they continue playing like this is quite the impressive form that Weibo Gaming demonstrated, and we saw multiple flashes of in that lower bracket run in playoffs in the previous split. And with an Ocean Soul on their side, it's only a matter of time before Weibo Gaming close this game out.
I'm happy for Weibo. I'm really sad for JDG, because this was, we literally just saw this team go to an international, and that's why I think fans, Jesus Christ, Elk, please. This guy's got a family right there in front of his inhibitor. Okay, what I was going to say is that on paper, a lot of fans, I think, at home thought that JDG were going to clean this series up, but these teams are very similar in record. 3-6, 3-7 in game score. 1-3 for both of them. But I think Weibo have just shown better games recently in comparison.
Yep. Momentum seems to be on Weibo's side, whereas the derailing and overall slow start from JDG after suffering a pretty devastating loss against Ninjas in Pajamas last night seems to be on their mind. Xiaohu! No way! Does he turn around? Oh, it was super close! At the cost of multiple shields, barriers, and flashes being used just to keep Gala alive, they at least take down the captain of Weibo Gaming, but I don't think it changes the end result here. Weibo Gaming are still going to be able to push through this bottom lane.
Only Weibo would find a way to lose a game down up 11,000 gold and an Ocean Soul.
Don't say that.
Anything is possible. HongQ
tries to send it, but goes gold and forced to flash away. Elk steps up, and he is 1v3 on the front line. He gets bursted up by gold. Don't tell me JDG turned this around. Zika's going to try and sink his blades into the back line, slicing and dicing them throughout. JDG lose out on 2. And now here comes the Grand Starfall to look for the re-engage. They still have an inhibitor turret to protect them. They escape to safety. Jindong Gaming are somehow surviving despite Weibo Gaming with an Ocean Soul.
The inhibitor is going to go down. There's going to be triple super minions, and we still have Baron for 40 seconds. Weibo still have legs to stand on in this game. Jiejie has full health. Again, Ocean Soul is incredible. Zika is level 20 Mbessa right now. Nobody can kill this guy in this game, and there's no Seeker's Arm Guard available now for HongQ. Just let the Baron finish out this game.
Public execution, run into the back. Vampire gets saved by a well-timed Emperor's Divide. HongQ slides on in, trying to just burn it down. They get him! Jindong Gaming are holding the line.
Okay, Raafaa, How can they really hold the line, though, with 3 inhibitors down and a Nexus turret? They'll have to wait 3.5 minutes before they get all of their base back in order. This was such a clutch find coming in, and melee ranging into Rise, I think, is dangerous business, but I guess if you're willing to dance, it takes 2. So Gala and Vampire, but he'll find that one. Elk shifts too far forward, and the polymorph from Vampire opens up a window where JDG can try to fight. Zika is not here right now. When you're talking about taking one of the big gold leads out of this game, that's a way to do it. Draw long fights in side lanes. And I just thought, look, you have an Ocean Soul. Surely you don't lose a fight with an Ocean Soul. It is, I think, statistically improbable that that's going to happen. But they make it work. Azir turret even gives them protection. And again, that inhibitor that you were mentioning also has some safety there. So they shored up some of the gold lead. It is still 10,000. Even if it's the new season of League, even with all the inflation in terms of gold, 10,000 gold is still game over territory.
And with double super minions pouring in every single lane, unless JDG just somehow disconnect every single computer from Weibo Gaming's players, then I don't think they're going to be given the grace to scale back into this one and overcome the gold deficits that they're experiencing. It's only one Nexus turret, and technically an Azir turret that is protecting the Nexus from falling. JunJia is going to get bursted out once again, but he survives, can return to the fountain and heal back up to full. Xiaohu is at 3/4 HP, close to 50%. Xiaoxu is pressuring him off the base for now. Weibo Gaming are trying to play this one slow. Zika finds the ultimate into the backline, pushes HongQ back into the fountain. Xiaohu wins the 1v1 against Xiaoxu, and Weibo Gaming finally find the winning fight, and they can push us to game 2.
All right, we may have had a little bit of a trip and a stumble and a slip, but we make it happen. Weibo take the first game. I would say, you know, without that blip, I'm still fairly okay with the way in which we did that. Clean game for about 95%. We'll take that. 95 is a passing grade.
It's one of those moments where JDG Gaming were, I don't want to say they were passive, but they were just kind of on the back foot, reacting to fights that Weibo were starting up. And it wasn't until the end where it was like, someone on the team probably said, guys, if we don't do anything, we're just losing the game. And I'd rather go out swinging than die with our backs on the floor.
You won't call it. I will. I think they did absolutely nothing in this game.
I mean, they didn't.
Skarner felt very homeless for a large portion of it. He kind of just full cleared, press tab. All right, cool. My lanes are down. I'll just hit the recall button. I'll go to Dragon, right? I don't think that we got glimpses of what Yunara on 5 items kind of looks like, but the game was already over at that point. Just strong side lane control, right? We had Rise as soon as he hit level 6, goes bottom lane, sets up a play. It doesn't turn into any kills, but the most important thing is getting summoner spells out from that lane. Jiejie had already went topside for the Mbessa. They revisit that lane to get the top lane quest and more turret plates. I think they just leverage their composition much better than their opponents, and you had already prescribed a win condition for JDG is make sure that JunJia has a good game, and that did not at all happen.
It seems like he was having a good game, but all he was doing was just picking up objectives across the map from where Jiejie was, and I mean, those are not bad decisions. But I think you asked an appropriate question of, like, what is the end goal for this Skarner? What does he provide that makes it hard for Weibo Gaming to deal with? And obviously, a lot of Skarner's power comes from being a frontline, being a dedicated tank for the team. He has a really powerful engage tool with Impale. Unfortunately, that Impale threat means very little when Breath of Life is available for Milio. Obviously, didn't matter for Elk that one time, which was really funny in the moment. But you could tell that a lot of the fights that JDG wanted to force, they couldn't really, because that's always in the back of their mind. If we overforce this and then they use Milio R and we're too deep, we have no way of walking out of this fight. And it seems like JDG just didn't want to play ball until it was too late.
And the Weibo or the JDG solo lanes, I think, really let us down, or let their team down, I think, in this game. That's a lot of damage from HongQ, yes, but especially the early lane, like, Azir's lane is good enough to kind of get by against most champions. His kit is just naturally, like, predispositioned towards team fighting anyway, so that's why he's been a premier laner for the period of time in which he has existed in League of Legends. But we've seen some nerfs. We've seen how the game has changed in general, that Azir can't keep up in some cases, especially against champions like Ryze and Orianna in the current state that they are in. And this is, I think, now going on, not in a row, but a couple of series so far in Split 2 where Xiaoxu has, for the most part, been left out to dry a lot. He had the Vayne top game where he didn't get very much help and kind of was just sitting there and playing against, I forgot what the matchup was. I'm assuming it was Gnar, but I think that Xiaoxu has gone from big hero for this team to small zero.
Ouch. Yeah, there's no protection whatsoever in trying to at least help fight back for this Rumble from JunJia's side. And it's not like you can't make plays with Skarner. Obviously, before level 6, you're just banking on a quick turret dive or trying to see if you can come over the wall and find a flank. But really, the only time we saw JunJia make an attempt of a gank was just covering, quote-unquote, covering HongQ on mid lane, where we noted how, well, all he did was just come through the Raptor wall and then just hit Xiaohu with a W.
This was tough. Like, yeah. I'm still really wondering where Xin Zhao. Did Xin Zhao actually die in the client? Did Xin Zhao potentially insult someone's family? Is that a reason for his absence here? Because I don't know if it would have solved the things we saw in this game, and obviously with a completely different champion, the variables in the game change. But I think you have so many more legs to stand on if you're JDG, and you have a Lulu, Xin Zhao frontline. Also, Xin Zhao in general is the biggest cheater champion right next to Pantheon. Like, if I think Pantheon E is broken, Xin Zhao's ultimate is just that on, like, super steroids. So they're not going to show the Han ultimate, man.
Oh man, that was a highlight for sure. It's okay. There was never another time where someone was impaled and Hong was forced to do it correctly. In fact, I don't even think there was another time where a target was impaled and Melio was in the vicinity to even cast R. Yeah, strange priority. I know in the previous series you mentioned how it seemed strange for JDG to let go of Karma and Orianna as first pick options. Now, I don't know if this is near the same level, because I feel like Rumble is like a reasonable power pick to try and secure for yourself, but the Pantheon and Ryze were both given up in exchange, and I feel like either one of them, especially when Jarvan is banned by JDG, there's no other jungler that really makes the equalizer threat as powerful without the Cataclysm. So, and props to Jiejie. Extraordinary game. We know that Jiejie has been one of the better parts, if not the most consistent part of Weibo throughout all their wins and losses in 2026. And I mean, this game that he set up Zika for allowed Weibo Gaming to be able to just blast JDG.
Completely fair pog. I like that there were some people that gave a shout out over to Xiaohu, but all right, Weibo. As I have said time and time again on this broadcast, if you can win one, you can win two. And I know WE are really looking to try to get that advice for themselves, but let's stick inside this series, Weibo. Let's see if you can at least get another one, or if JDG are going to try to tie this one up.
Yep. We're going to find out how that story unfolds on the other side of this break. See you then.